third and final technique of today will be working with negative assumptions. So I'm going to explore with my client Linda a negative assumption that she has, um, see what rule that implies, and then go through advantages and disadvantages of believing that rule, and then talk about the anxiety level around that feeling or that belief, and then come up with a reasonable alternative, reevaluate or review what we've talked about, and then reevaluate her anxiety level. Hopefully it goes down. No pressure.
Okay.
All right, so here we go.
Sorry.
Linda, thank you for coming today. It's so good to see you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's good to see you too.
How have you been this last week?
Yeah, I think I'm slowly getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been all right.
Okay. I know one of the things from last week and the previous week that we're still working on is you getting up in the mornings with your girls. And were you able, how many days were you successful with that?
Well, 4.
Okay, excellent.
Yes, but then that 5th day, I felt so poorly about myself that I didn't get up. So,
Which day was that?
that was yesterday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go back in your head to yesterday and really imagine being in bed still when your girls are busy getting ready? What thought or thoughts were going through your head at that moment?
That I just can't handle another day and how tired I am, and I just feel worthless.
You feel worthless as a mother because you're...
Yeah, because I can't even get out of bed.
That sounds pretty distressing.
Yeah, that's depressing. Distressing.
And depressing.
Yes, it is.
Well, what I'd like to work with you on today is working with negative assumptions, because as we've talked about previously in cognitive behavioral therapy, we have a thought. In your case, it's that you're a worthless mother.
I feel that way. I am a worthless mother. If I can't get out of bed, that's pretty bad.
And so with those negative assumptions, there often implies some rule that you are really committed to, you're believing in. So I'd like us to think about, and this can be painful to even discuss, so sometimes we laugh as a way to distract us from feeling that pain, but I would like us to really focus on when you believe that you are a worthless mother, is there a rule that you're feeling like you're compelled to live or be? Something that implies that you're a worthless mother?
I mean, like I feel like I'm a failure.
Yeah, so you feel like you're a failure if what?
If I can't be there for my kids.
Okay. All the time?
Yeah, I mean, I should be there for my kids 100% of the time.
Okay, so if you aren't there for your kids 100% of the time, then you are a failure. You feel as though you're a worthless mother.
Yeah, I mean, that is a stretch because here I am having trouble getting out of bed, and then I guess I don't fully expect that mothers have to be there 100% of the time, but
It's pretty extreme.
yeah, but at least 80%.
Okay. How much do you believe this rule that if you are not available for your kids 80% of the time, you're a worthless mother? How much do you believe that? Let's say on a scale from 0 to 100.
Whoa.
100 being, I completely, in my bones, feel this and believe this, and 0 mean, I don't believe it at all.
I would say probably 70%.
70%.
Yeah.
Okay. So the goal of today is to really dissect this negative assumption that you have and see if we can come up with a more reasonable belief and then reevaluate what your feelings are towards that new, more reasonable belief.
Okay.
So if you, and I'll walk you through it step by step. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to write here this negative assumption that you're a worthless mother, that you believe that you are a worthless mother if you're not available for your kids 80% of the time. Okay. And you say you rate that at about a 70.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like to make charts. I like to find the evidence for this rule by doing like a pros and a cons or advantages and disadvantages of you believing this. So if you hold on to this, you must be present for your kids 80% of the time. What are the advantages of holding on to that belief?
That my kids are cared for.
Mm-hmm.
That they feel loved.
Yeah, they feel loved. They feel cared for.
That they feel like they can depend on me.
Mm-hmm. They can depend on you.
Yeah.
It's a great advantage. We can still add to the advantages, but let's think of some disadvantages too. What would be a disadvantage for you holding rigidly to this? You must be available 80% of the time or else you're a failure as a mom.
Well, I guess it'd be a lot of pressure for some moms.
Yes, a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure.
I might feel guilty if I can't give 80%.
Sure. So you would feel guilty.
And I think I would compare myself to other moms and see how much more they do for their kids than I do. Like I don't volunteer at school anymore. And so many moms do.
Yeah, I can relate to that mom comparison. That's a good list too. Now we can always come back to this list, but just for sake of time today, if you believe this assumption about yourself, this rule that you have to be there and present 80% of the time, how does that make you feel holding on to that belief?
Yeah, well, pressured. Yeah. I feel stressed.
Stressed. Pressured. physiologically, do you feel in your body?
I feel overwhelmed.
Okay.
I
overwhelmed,
feel tense.
tense.
I get headaches a lot because I
Ah,
don't always eat as often as I should because I'm racing here and there.
headaches. Sounds like this rule isn't really supporting you in feeling healthy and strong and
Yeah,
capable.
it's all about my kids.
So I wonder if we could come up with a reasonable alternative to that belief that you must be available for your kids 80% of the time. Something that you might feel that is achievable, that wouldn't make you feel stressed, pressured, overwhelmed, tense, have headaches.
Well, you're a mom. What do you think a mom should? I feel like if I say anything less than 80%, I'm.
Well, what if we didn't put a percentage on
Oh,
the amount of attention that we give our kids?
so like. So maybe I am there for my kids whenever they need me, or as much as possible.
Ah, yeah. How does that sit with you when you say that? That I am there for my kids as much as possible.
Well, part of me feels some relief,
Mm-hmm.
but then part of me also feels a little guilty, like maybe my priorities are selfish. If I'm,
So, priorities can definitely be a topic that we could add to the agenda for a future session. Um, and that's a great topic that we can explore. But as you tell yourself, I'd like to engage with my daughters as much as possible, say that out loud if you would please.
I'd like to engage with my daughters as much as possible.
How does that feel?
It's true.
It feels
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Do you feel tense when you say that?
No. No, I feel deep down that that's how I feel.
It seems reasonable, right? You're
Yeah.
not placing this extravagant expectation on yourself as
Yeah.
a parent.
The percentage thing.
Yeah. Maybe drop the number. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. I'd like to engage with my daughters as much as possible. And question for you. Would revising this rule mean that you were a failure or a good mom? Revising that old rule of you must be available in 80% of the time.
You mean changing that rule? Am I a lesser mom if I change to
maybe
this
I didn't
other
explain
one?
that. Yeah. So taking your original rule of you need to be there for your kids 80% of the time and shifting it to a more reasonable alternative like I'd like to be there for my kids as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Does that revision of rules feel like a failure of a mom, or does that feel like something
No.
a good mom would do?
It seems reasonable. I mean, it seems like every mom could could hope for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it doesn't seem like a mom who was a failure would even look to a rule to change it.
Hmm.
Seems like maybe you're stepping in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely feels like a more positive
Mm-hmm.
spin.
Mm-hmm. For your homework assignment this week, I would like you to, and I'll write this down on a piece of paper, this reasonable alternative that we've come up with.
Okay.
And I'd like for you to read it twice a day. It can be any time during the day, but I'd like you to also, as you're reading this, kind of just jot down in that journal that you started last week how that sits with you. How does that feel? And does that make you look differently at your week, your kids, your relationships, your choices? Just notice if there are any, just notice actually.
Do you want me to write down how I feel?
Mm-hmm.
Or just say that out loud to myself?
I'd like you to say it out loud to yourself twice a day.
Okay.
And then I would like you to write down any thoughts or feelings that come up around that.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
All right. Well, I look forward to talking with you about this next week then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.